All right, so I'm gonna have us do a hip focused reformer class. So like stretching the hips, hip opening, just mainly focusing on stretching and opening the hips. All right, so I'm gonna start with footwork. So I'm on 3 reds and a blue. I'm gonna lift the headrest and then laying down and just starting with footwork. So I'm gonna start with a stretch. So we'll start with the running stretch. I'm just doing a little double pump, stretching the calves out. And then I'm gonna go to a Pilates V on the balls of the feet. So the heels touch and then bending in and stretching out. And you wanna keep the hips stable, neutral spine, keeping the abs in. The weight, it's up to you if you want to go heavier or lighter, but I do like to do footwork with 3 reds and a blue. And we'll do 8 of everything. Okay, so last one, and then I'm gonna come halfway in and pulse. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna stretch, I'm gonna open the heels up and do calf raises. So just dropping and lifting. 4, 3, last one, and then I'm coming in and I'm gonna go to the arches, hip width apart, stretching out, and then coming in. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'm gonna come halfway in and do the pulses again. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stretching, or you could rest. I like to stretch after. And then I'm gonna come up to the heels. I'm gonna stay hip width apart. I'm gonna flex the feet, keep the toes up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'm gonna come halfway in and pulse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'm stretching. Okay, the last one I'm gonna do is go wide, and I'm gonna try to turn out as much as I can to try to just open the hips up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'm gonna come in and pulse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stretching or resting. And then I'm gonna do one more quick little running stretch. Running stretch is the best. Breathing and then coming in whenever you're ready. All right, so from here, I'm gonna have us go into single legs with the strap. So I'm gonna do 1 red, and then we're gonna do a stretch after that. So I'm laying down. I'm gonna start with 1 foot into the strap. I'm gonna do the long strap. If you did wanna go heavier, you could try the inside strap. So I'm just gonna start with scissor kicks, keeping the hips stable, keeping the abs in. 6, 5, 4, 3, I teach these a lot, 2, last one, and then I'm gonna point the toes, extend one, and then the other, lengthening. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and then this is always a challenge, trying to do the frog. So keeping the heels together, toes apart, Pilates V, bend in, stretching out. It's much easier with both feet in the straps. Just staying controlled, keeping the abs in. 4, 3, 2, last one. Okay, so now the foot in the strap is gonna stay straight. This ankle is gonna come on top. I kind of call this one hip circles. So circling the legs, keeping the hips stable. So this is kind of similar to a mat Pilates. So just keeping the abs in, keep the hips stable, staying controlled. You don't want to go super big. Last ones. And then we're going to reverse. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Okay, and now we're gonna do the stretch. So that other foot's gonna come to the foot bar. This leg is up to the ceiling and you're just pulling towards you, stretching, then holding the strap with the same hand. So right leg, right hand. I'm gonna open up and keep this opposite hip down and just stretching. And then whenever you're ready, you're gonna go over the opposite leg and doing the IT stretch, breathing. I'll do one more since I'm here. It's a great stretch. You could also do this with the magic circle if you're on the mat. I do that a lot. And then over the opposite leg. And then I'm gonna add bending the hip. So I'm gonna bend the leg back and then getting this hip opening stretch. So you could bend this leg to get into it. I do have the box on the floor next to me because I'm on the Cadillac, so these are taller and I'm gonna end up doing a stretch. But you're really just opening, lengthening here. It is a great stretch. If it doesn't feel good, skip it. If anything doesn't feel good, skip it. And then I'm coming out of this. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side and see how that is. So you wanna keep the abs in, keep the hips stable. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And then I'm gonna tabletop the legs, point. So lengthening one and then the other. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And then the challenging one is the frog. The challenge is to keep the heels touching. Pilates V, keeping the hips stable. 6 more. So one leg we're using our body weight. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And then I'm gonna go into those hip circles. So you wanna try to do what you did on the other side, keeping the abs in, keeping the hips stable. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reversing it. One side could feel different than the other side. That is why we do a lot of separate sides in Pilates to see if there's any imbalances or if there's anything to work on. 4, 3, 2, last one. Okay, good. And now we're up to that stretch. So starting with the pulling towards you, stretching. And then I like to hold this hip to keep it down, but opening and just not, you don't want to lift all the way up. You want to stay square with the hip. Stretch, breathe. And then going over the opposite leg, the IT stretch. And then we'll do one more each way. But I definitely recommend doing these stretches. Then last one. And then we're gonna try that hip stretch where we're bending the leg outside the reformer. You could bend this leg to get into it more. So stretching, lengthening. It's a great stretch. Breathing, and then whenever you're ready, just carefully coming out of that strap. So I'm gonna hang this up, and then I'm gonna do a spring change. Okay, so now I'm gonna have us go into bridges. I'm gonna drop the headrest down. I'm on 2 red springs. And then, all right, so we're on the heels, arms at the side. The challenge is to not move the reformer, use the abs, use the glutes. So inhale and then exhale, rolling up 1 vertebrae at a time, and then rolling down. Inhale and then exhale, rolling up, rolling down. 6 more. Inhale and then exhale, up, rolling down. Inhale, exhale, up, roll down. And then we'll try 3 more. 3. Articulating the spine. 2. Last one, we're gonna stay up, pulse up and down, use the glutes. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, stay up in the bridge, and then we're gonna move out and then coming in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. And then coming in, rolling down. And after the bridges, it's great to do figure 4 stretch. So ankle over knee, you could pull the thigh towards you, stretching. Could try to push on this knee to open. And then I also like to add crossing the knee over the knee and pulling the legs. It's a little bit of a different stretch. And then we're gonna switch opposite ankle over knee, pull towards you. You could try to push on this knee to open up if it feels okay. And then crossing, pulling. Okay, good. And then we're gonna go into a side lying. And actually first, let's sit and we'll do a little bit of arms from butterfly stretch. 1 red spring, and then I'm gonna grab my strap. So sitting up against the shoulder blocks. So what makes this challenging is sitting in the butterfly, which butterfly is the bottom of the feet touching. I'm gonna grab the straps. The challenge here is to also sit tall and not lean into the shoulder blocks. So butterfly, and then like hug the tree. This is way more challenging than crossing the legs. Keep the abs in. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, and then resting and going into serving. Out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Okay, good. And then last one I'm gonna have us do here is the arms up, sitting tall. This is challenging from the butterfly. Keep the abs in. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Awesome. Resting. That was a challenge. Okay, so now I'm gonna have us do some more hip opening stuff. I'm gonna do side lying. I'm gonna stay on the one red spring. I'm gonna lift up the headrest, so my head's gonna go on there, just relaxing. And then I'm gonna take the strap, I'm gonna put my whole leg inside the strap, so the strap is over the knee. And then I'm gonna lift up the feet. Use the glutes for this. Start with the clam. So just lifting, dropping. I do love this exercise. You could also do it lifted like this, which maybe I'll stay like this for a second and then drop down. If you are lifted, you want to stay lifted in the shoulder, not sinking into the shoulder. 4, 3, 2, last one. And then resting. Another hip opening from here is lift, drop, lift, drop. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, I'm gonna stay lifted and then kick out, bend in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Rest, and then we're gonna do hip opening circles. So when you're ready, big hip opening circles. If you're lifted, still staying lifted in the shoulder. A lot of times I do it just down on the pillow, but today I was feeling lifting up. So opening the hip up. 3, 2, last one, and then reversing it opposite direction. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. These are very effective. 2, last one. Good, those are great. And then I'm gonna come out of the strap carefully. It's definitely harder on the inside strap, so definitely up to you. Obviously, if it doesn't feel good, skip it, don't do it. And then we're gonna come on the other side and do the exact same thing. Okay, so stacking up on the side. I'm actually just gonna stay lifted. I'm not gonna come onto the pillow. And then the foot is going in, and then we're going over the knee. So I'm lifted in the shoulder, and I'm gonna start with the clam. I like to lift the feet up for these. Lift, drop. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Good, and then next one is just the hip opening. Lifting, dropping, lift, drop. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, stay lifted, kick out, bend in. Try to engage the glutes. 6, 5. Try to do exactly what you're doing on the other side. 4, 3, 2. Last one. Rest, and then I'm just gonna do those hip opening circles, keeping the glutes engaged. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reverse. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, and then I'm coming out of the strap, but I do love those. I teach those a lot. Definitely one of my favorite exercises. Okay, I'm gonna add a blue spring on, and then I'm gonna have us come into one more hip opening. So I'm gonna put the box on. So I'm gonna put the short box on. I'm on one red, one blue. We're just gonna do one thing here. So setting up for like a plank position. And then I'm gonna come onto the forearm kind of how I just was. This foot is gonna come outside the reformer. This is hip opening right here. The full foot's on the foot bar and then pushing out and then coming in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then pulses. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and then you could stretch or rest. Good. There's a lot of other exercises that we could do from here, but I'm just gonna flip over and go to the other side. Good, so this leg comes outside, the full foot's on, you're on the forearm, lifted, kind of like how I was on the other side. Pushing out, coming in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then the pulses. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, stretch or rest. Awesome. And then I'm gonna put the box back down because I'm on the Cadillac Reformer combos. So these are definitely taller. So for some of the stuff I have to use the boxes, which for the next one after, so right now I'm gonna have us do feet and straps. I'm on 2 red springs, but then after I'm gonna end up using these boxes on the side. So when you're ready, laying down, you could have the headrest up, it's up to you. I'm gonna keep it up. And then I'm gonna get my feet into the straps. With this exercise, you definitely wanna keep the hips stable, abs in, neutral spine, and let's just start straight legs, pointing, flexing, move the ankles. 6 more, keeping the abs in, keeping the hips stable. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, I'm lowering to 45, heels touch, bend in, stretch out. So we did this one earlier, but only one strap at a time. So this one's a little bit nicer because the other one we were using our body weight with one leg. The challenge is to keep the heels touching here. But this is a great exercise. And then I'm gonna do straight legs out and then opening, closing. If it doesn't feel good, don't open so wide. It could be a little movement, still keeping the hips stable. You can point and flex out and in. Try to use the inner thighs. 4, 3, 2, last one, and now into the circles. With the circles, you really want to keep the hips stable, keeping the tailbone down, glued to the mat. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reverse, opposite direction. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Good, and then I do always love to do a stretch after that. So I'm gonna pull towards me with straight legs, and then I'm gonna open to the V, keep pulling. You could rock side to side if you're feeling it. You could also try to bend in and rock side to side, kind of like happy baby. And then the butterfly, which is a great hip opening stretch, either pulling towards you, or you could just let your feet hang where the springs are, wherever you feel the stretch. I'm just gonna pull towards me. So this is a big hip opener. Full inhales, breathing. Full exhales. One more. And then whenever you're ready, we're coming out of the feet and the straps. And we're gonna do two more stretches. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the one red spring. So this is why I have the boxes here, because this reformer is taller. So I'm gonna start with the lunge stretch. So both knees are bent, going out and in, or just staying in the stretch. You just don't want the knee to go past the toes. So you just wanna check yourself when you're stretching. So whatever feels good for your body, either moving or just staying out in the stretch, it's up to you. And then the next stretch from here is the straight leg stretch. So either going out and in, we're not bending now. Could stay out in the stretch, whatever you're feeling. This is another stretch I love. I'm gonna back up a tiny bit. I'm gonna get my knee up against the shoulder block and get my hip down to the mat. So this is a really great stretch on the reformer. You could move in and out, or you could just stay there. You can also try to reach for the foot with both hands. This is a great hip opener stretch though. And then the last one on this side, I'm gonna turn, split. So I'm gonna fold forward, reaching for the frame. You could always walk the hands out with you. If you really wanted to be challenging, you could always bring this foot up and really try to stretch. But I love all these stretches, these are great. Okay, so before we go to the other side to get into the other lunge stretches, we're gonna go right into the mermaid stretch, which is another great hip stretch, side stretch, hand on, same spring, one red, stretching over, lengthening, and then going over the other way, counter stretch. You could hold the shoulder block, the headrest. And then one more each way. So good. And then you're gonna rotate, bring both hands to the foot bar, stretch all the way out. Coming in with straight arms, lifting. One more stretch. And then coming in. And then before I get up, I like to add the rotating and look behind that shoulder and the rotate, stretch, breathe. And then we're gonna come back to standing, start with all those lunges and then go into the mermaid. Okay, so both knees bent to start. Make sure the knee is not going past the toes for the standing leg. Same exact thing that we did on the other side. Stretching, breathing. And then straight legs. So straightening the standing leg, lifting the knee up. Just listening to your body. You don't want to overdo it. I normally like to move in and out with these, but some people like to hold the stretch. So whatever you're feeling. And then I'm going to get the knee back. So I'm going to step back a little bit. Get the knee up against the shoulder block and try to get the hip down to the mat. This is a great hip opening. You could move or just stay there. Always breathing, and then you could add this on, this rotate, which makes it more challenging. The other side. Great, and then I'm coming up and I'm gonna go into that side split. So turning, facing the frame, hands on the frame, stretch. And then since I did it on the other side, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna lift this foot up to here and then stretching out. Of course, if it does not feel good, you don't wanna push yourself. Stretching, breathing, and then coming in, and then getting into that last stretch, the mermaid stretch. So hand on in line with the shoulder, pushing out, lengthening, stretching. This is also a good hip stretch. One more each way. Sometimes it's just good to stretch on the reformer. And then lifting up for extension. There's so many amazing stretches that you could use the reformer for. Extension. And then rotate, reach for the shoulder blocks, look behind the shoulder, breathe. But yeah, this was basically just a focused hip class. So like hip stretches, keeping your hips healthy. If you guys want to see anything else, let me know. But yeah, this was mainly like for just stretching, opening up the hips and keeping the hips stable. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.